Real cream is in a garbage truck, but they didn't know where.
Garbage truck, huh? The whole garbage system is automated. The trucks are equipped with GPS transmitters. If you come back to our base, I might be able to figure out a way to track it down.
Okay, cool. I'm on my way. Wait, how do we communicate with Sam when neither of us is holding a phone?
Technology.
Technology.
Let's not complicate things by poking holes in the way we deliver the story, okay?
Oh, okay then. I'm gonna go back to the base and be magically gone by the time you have control.
Fine by me. That's not weird at all.
Howdy do to all of you. This is Emmett Watkins Jr. and I am back yet again on my YouTube channel with another musical review for all of you to listen to. I don't know why I'm making so many rhymes. I guess it's appropriate since we're talking about a pretty talented rhymer this week, YBN Cordae. He just came out not too long ago. He came out with his introductory album, The Lost Boy. And I'm going to tell you what I think about it. This whole video is going to be kind of a track-by-track breakdown of it. If you've seen my other videos, you know that already. But starting off, well, first off, I'll just say straight up, the album, I enjoy it. So this is going to be me talking about why I enjoy it. But before I get to that, before we get to the track-by-track breakdown, I kind of have to make it clear what my history is with YBN Cordae. So YBN Cordae is an artist that I've had my eye on for the last few months. He's kind of I don't exactly know. He first came up on my radar when he did that I guess that response track to 1989, the J. Cole song that he made. That was kind of a diss to, these that one SoundCloud rapper who was dissing him. I forget the name of him. I think it's a little something. It's not Lil Perp, it's not Lil Durk. It's the fucking Gucci Gang guy. But I couldn't even tell you his name because I guess that's how much I listen to his music. So yeah, he made that song in response to that. And then YBN Cordae, I saw in hip hop. What was it? God, I almost forgot what World Star Hip Hop was. Wow. So he put out a track on World Star Hip Hop kind of as a response. And it got a lot of traction. And listening to that track, I was like, oh, wait, this guy, even though, this is a case of judging a book by its cover, YBN Cordae has like the colored dreads that you see in a lot of these like SoundCloud / mobile rap type guys. But listening to the song, it actually, he was on some like, not necessarily like the wokest shit of all, but he was definitely in a different pocket, definitely writing from a different mindset as a lot of rappers nowadays, referencing things like Bill Cosby getting locked up and these supposed to be our role models, and same thing with R. Kelly and him getting in trouble last few years. And so, well, I'd argue R. Kelly was doing some weird shit his whole life, and it's just now coming out. But hey, same thing for Cosby. Anywho, so yeah, it seemed like he was just in a different headspace than a lot of these rappers, just where he's rhyming from, and I found that entertaining and just interesting in general. So I stayed on him. I actually. I didn't go in immediately and just look up everything that he ever made, but he'd put out some music. I'd hear his name come up here and there. I'd hear some freestyles from him that were always good. Excellent freestyles from this man. And eventually I went on Spotify. He has like a playlist. Before his album came out, he had a playlist of like all of the features and songs he's done so far. And that playlist was on rotation for quite a while and, got me anticipating his album. And I knew he was coming with an album. I knew it was called Lost Boy. I didn't even realize it was coming out on the same day as Chance the Rapper's album. So when Chance's album came out, I was surprised to see him tweeting about his album. It dropped as well. So super excited about that. And I just hopped on it as soon as I saw it. So yeah, YBN Cordae, I'm definitely digging the guy, and I'm hoping that this first full project is going to be something worthwhile. And as I've already hinted towards, it pretty much is. And so we're going to go ahead and start with the track-by-track breakdown of everything. And that's going to be starting with the first track, Wintertime. I really enjoy this track. It kind of gives me, if you remember at the beginning of To Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick Lamar's album, where it kind of has that like you're watching like some 80s TV show, and it's like the intro song to it, and it has like that staticky kind of rendition on there. This has a similar opening where it doesn't necessarily open with a specific song like it does on To Pimp a Butterfly, but it does have that vibe to it. It definitely has that like 1976 early access TV show coming on in the morning, and it's a vibe that I like, and I don't know, it's just a really good way to start off the album. That's how it sounds instrumentally. Of course, the drums and everything kick up eventually in the song. They kick up towards the beginning, of course. But, you know, lyrically, this is just YBN Cordae getting into that slightly more conscious pocket, which is, you know, a pocket he stays in for majority of this album. And I dig it. And I like some of the bars he has in here as well. And yeah, some of the bars here, he actually... Like, here's the type of cleverness that I really like from him. So, in his first verse, he has a couple bars here. I'm just going to read a string of these bars because they all have the same slant rhyme. When Martin Luther cheated and stared in Coretta's eyes, this is lyrical exercise. Told my idols to step aside. My mama said I'm bugging, no need for the pesticides. Was just waiting tables, gave customers extra fries. Maya Angelou with the counts, I just let it rise. Now I want to highlight just that rhyme scheme is really clever, and that goes on for I think like 2 more bars as well. And so not only is the rhyme scheme clever, that Martin Luther line, I mean, when the FBI revealed that, you know, he was cheating on his wife on the low, that whole thing, like, that's like something no one talks about. So that like shows that he's like done his homework. Not necessarily trying to throw shade at MLK. I mean, who's gonna throw shade at MLK in all seriousness? But like, it just shows that he does his homework and he like knows what the fuck is up. And then at the end, that Maya Angelou bar, bro, I mean, she died not too long ago, like 2-3 years ago. And so it's cool to, you know, have that reference to, you know, like a caged bird I rise and all that stuff, from one of her classic poems. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Or not the caged bird poem, Still I Rise is the one. But in either case, it's still a pretty cool reference. And it shows, like, once again, it shows that his headspace is in a different place than a lot of rappers his age. This kid's only like, I want to say he's only like 21, or he's like in his early 20s, I'm pretty sure. And so it's really cool to see that that's the vibe that he is on right now. And so, yeah, love Wintertime. Very mellow track, very relaxed track. Very, like I said, contemplative, almost like he's just like he's rapping over some old TV show theme song. But I like it. I like it a whole lot. And so that takes us on to a slightly more upbeat song. There's actually a single that he released earlier before the album came out, and that is Have Mercy. And I really like this song. Now, I like the song because there's like a clash here, if you ask me. And the clash is between, actually, there's 2 different music videos for this song. One by Lyrical Lemonade and one just put out by his own YouTube channel. And it kind of illustrates the duality that I'm going to bring up here. So instrumentally, the instrumental is very creepy, very like, ooh, it's very spooky. It's very not unsettling. Like, it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound foreboding at all. It just sounds oppressive. Like, it just sounds like a flute in a forest, which is the best way I can think of it. It sounds like Majora's Mask. And everyone knows Zelda as like the creepy Zelda, so it definitely has that vibe to it. But it's kind of a duality because lyrically, YBN Cordae, his cadence and his flow is super, super playful on this track. Like, he's bouncing into different flows and different cadences, you know, every couple bars. And it's very entertaining. Like, I love the track for that alone. But like, he's just being very playful with his bars and everything. And so I think that duality where he's like just playing with this beat, despite this beat being very like kind of depressing almost, or oppressing maybe. Yeah, I think that's a fun duality to play with. And he actually has a couple of bars here that I want to highlight as well. Like, for example, once again in his first verse, he has a string of bars. I think I'm just gonna, well, I'll just read these 2. My team way more consolidated, sweet presidential, that's inauguration because we cook and crack like Ronald Reagan. I like that one. Sweet presidential, that's inauguration. Like, you know, presidential bars, like that's clever alone. And then also cook and crack like Ronald Reagan, like making a reference to the fact that he's cooking crack because his lyrics are dope. Like, that's clever. But also relating crack to Ronald Reagan, I mean, it's something that people do often in their rhymes because, you know, we we think of Ronald Reagan as being responsible for the cocaine epidemic that happened in black communities back in I want to say that's the 80s. But yeah, it's just, I think that's a clever way of just, you know, recognizing some woke shit, but also being playful with it. And I think that's something that he excels at in this song especially. And so yeah, and then just the chorus itself is just super playful. Like it kind of, it has a tinge of seriousness to it, but just the instrumental with it and his cadence to it just makes it feel like something you can dance to, despite it being a cry for help. Or at least it feels like a cry for help. Like if I just read the chorus real quick, sweet Lord, please have mercy. Baby Jesus, please save us. I know I used up my 3 favors, about to send in like a week later. And then right there you're like, oh, this is a cry for help, holy shit. And then right after that, new car, speed racer, cop a crib, need acres, most of all we all need prayer, karma coming, beware. And so it's like, wait, is this like something to turn up to, or is he still calling for help? Like it's confusing you, because it's like foreboding and dark, but it's also like, yo, cop a crib, yo, and then karma coming, beware. I don't know where I'm going, but I hope I'm on the right path. Life will hit you with a life jab. Mike Tyson, strike back. You niggas going out slice sad. I know I'm all about my bag. New drip, I grab. I just want to get my life back. So it's just I really shouldn't have read the whole thing probably, but it's just very invigorating, where the cadence that he employs on this song kind of brings life to it, and it also it just makes it kind of depressing but also kind of turn uppy. And so it's a really interesting dichotomy he plays with on this track. And so I just love the track. I think the track's really great. I think it's a good banger. I think it's gonna, I don't know, I mean, the song's been out for a couple months now, of course, so, you know, I'm not sure if this has been getting heavy radio play or club play or anything like that, because I don't really listen to the radio that much. Who does? But I think it's a great song. Hopefully this will definitely get him put on in some capacity. And then that takes us to the next track on here, which actually isn't a track at all. This is the skit, Sweet Lord. And really all this is a, how do we explain this? It really is just a more chorusy refrain of the chorus from the previous song. So if you look, I mean, I just read you the chorus from the previous song, so you already know how it goes. But it just takes that chorus from Have Mercy and puts a gospel chorus on it, and it just makes it sound so much more poetic, so much more beautiful, so much, it just brings it alive in a different way than when YBN Cordae was just, you know, enunciating it on the previous song. And so it really is just that repeat of the track, of the chorus, but it's given a new flair on there, kind of similar to the way that the game used some gospel interludes in Documentary 2. It has a similar, you know, structure there, and I really enjoyed it when they did it on Documentary 2. I enjoy it pretty much here as well. And YBN Cordae is actually singing lead in this choir, kind of showing off his vocal skills as well. So I thought that was pretty great. Thought that was pretty dope. And yeah, the skit overall is pretty good. This isn't even my favorite skit on the album. We're going to get there. There's another skit coming up that I have a lot to say on. Or I might have a lot to say on. We'll see how I feel once we get there. How long I've been recording. We'll see. But anywho, it takes us on to the next track right after that, which is Bad Idea. Now, Bad Idea, yet another song that was released before this album came out. And this one actually features Chance the Rapper, which is going to be the first feature on this album. And there are a number of high-profile features on this album, so, you know, buckle up for that. And so, yeah, I dug this song quite a bit. Now, first off, instrumentally, let me see. What is the sample? That's it. It samples Be Real Black for Me. I'm not sure. Excuse me. The name of that song does not sound familiar, but Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway, I'm fairly familiar with those two. I've listened to a couple songs from them, but the song that they sample in this track is one of their songs, as I said, Be Real Black for Me. I couldn't tell you how that song goes, but the refrain that they sample in this song is instantly recognizable to probably a lot of people. For me, it was like, oh snap, that's what this is. And it's just super invigorating. I really dig that that's the refrain that they use. It's just like that classic, like, whenever it has that feeling of like when you're watching a movie on BET and it's just like it's like panning over family photos with like some random feel good black song in the background. This is the type of song that plays in the background. Very specific example that maybe some of you won't understand, but it's the type of song that you're just listening to and the family photos are going on screen and it stops and it's like, sir, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got in this situation. Like it has that type of vibe to it, some like Earth, Wind and Fire, some Heat Wave type vibes, Isley Brothers type vibes. That's what this sample gives this track, and it works perfectly, especially with Chance the Rapper on here, where he works so well on a track like that. I think it's great, and I like how they split up their verses in here. So of course YB Cordae goes first, then Chance the Rapper for a second verse, and then YB once again, or YBN for the choruses and for the final third verse. And I like how YB comes in at first talking about, you know, how hard things are and, you know, all of the difficulties that he's going through, but he's, you know, trying to just get through it. I like how there's different phases in the journey of this song, where it starts with YB Cordae, just like, you know, if we look at some of these some of the bars here, I know myself all too well to be a stranger to pain. Despite it all, we remain in the same. I'm just changing the game. Heart pure, never tainted with fame. Straight ahead, I'ma stay in my lane. Never switching courses. Life's amazing. Shit is gorgeous. Looking at the bigger picture portrait and a smile wide. See, it's like he knows that things are hard currently, but he can see success on the horizon. He can see success, you know, just over the hill. And I like how that's how we started off, where this whole song, it kind of has like an inspirational soul to it, and starting off with acknowledging the hardship, but also knowing that the come up is on the come up. I think that's a good way to start the track. And then of course after the chorus, which YMB does a pretty good job singing as well, if I you know, haven't said so yet, YB Cordae is a pretty good singer on this whole project, and this song is no exception. But after that chorus, Chance the Rapper gets on here, and I like how his verses are more talking about, hey, we've made it, but I'm still trying to figure out how things are now that I have made it. So of course Chance the Rapper, no stranger to success either. In fact, he's certainly more successful than YBN. But, you know, I like how he's making a lot of these hasty decisions, or I like how the verse is illustrating how he's making these hastier decisions now that he has fame, and he's trying to like settle down, and he's trying to like figure everything out now that he has all this new success. And just a couple of bars that I like from him. I thought Chance the Rapper actually had a good deal of clever bars here, and I'm just gonna get a few of them right here. Finally found a condo that should still feel like an apartment. Out south, my foul mouth started sounding like Cartman. Roundabout like cartwheels, hopped inside of a U-Haul, confused where all my art went. Monsters in a quiet place. Some of these decisions like Sharpie on a dry erase. I know they thought I wouldn't, but I'm fireplace. I had my cake and ate it too. That shit was an acquired taste. Like, I like that. I like a lot of the quotes he has in here. I like a lot of the, I guess, punchlines he has in here. So just starting off with some of these decisions, it's like Sharpie on a dry erase, like permanent marker on a dry erase board. You're making permanent decisions in temporary situations. Like some of that stuff is like, you know, that's some real talk also, but it's just a clever way to say that. And it's like clever off-kilter ways of just saying obvious, simple things is what I really appreciate about this verse overall. I'm in the bar right after that. I know they thought I wouldn't, but I'm fireplace. Basically acknowledging the fact that, you know, he caught fire. He's lit. He's, you know, he's on fire in his career, and a lot of people didn't expect it. And I think it's a clever way of saying that. Dry erase, fireplace. I think that's a clever rhyme to form, and that's like the type of, you know, thinking on a different level lyrically to make some bars like that work. So yeah, I really enjoy that verse. And then YB Cordae comes immediately after that, and just kind of shows that he brings it around. He kind of puts a bow on the whole message of the song, where the start of it is, hey, our come up is coming. The second part is, hey, the come up is here, still trying to figure it out. And then the third one is like, yo, because we got the come up, this is why you don't need to worry. You don't need to cry. All the hardships over, so we can relax now. And you can see that illustrated in some of the first bars in his verse. So don't you shed a tear, because there'll be better years. I live by faith, nigga, instead of fear. God crying thunderstorms is heaven's tears. The feeling of lost hope, shit is never here. Like, kind of just talking about how, excuse me, all the uncertainty and stuff that he felt in the first verse is gone now that he has success. And so I really like that kind of narrative that they give to this song, and I think it's one of the strongest tracks on this album because they really did a great job of characterizing the whole struggle and the ups and downs of, I guess, fame and success in this track. So I really like it. A really good song, and that leads us on to number 5, which is the next track, and that is Thanksgiving. Now, this song, I originally didn't pick up what exactly it was about. Now, I did pick up that this is, of course, a song like Thanksgiving. This is about what is probably Thanksgiving, and him, having a Thanksgiving with his family, and just, talking about all of his different family members and stuff. But what I didn't pick up on is until later on is that this Thanksgiving is actually him bringing a girl that he's seeing to Thanksgiving to meet his family and everything. I didn't pick that up until way later. And I think it's a pretty cool, once again, another interesting narrative to kind of use his bars to illustrate. And it kind of, well, first off, let me talk about it instrumentally. Instrumentally, it has that same vibe as the first track. Well, really, a lot of these tracks on here are going to have a similar vibe. So this also has a very laid-back vibe. But how I would describe this one is, if you ever seen the movie Soul Food, this almost certainly would have been on the soundtrack if it came out when that movie came out. It definitely has that family, that warmth that you feel around family. That's the warmth I get from this track. And then just the way in the chorus alone, it's just like illustrating the picture of the plate of the table that's served with all the food. Like literally mac and cheese up in the oven, grandma finished cooking, Thanksgiving around the corner, need banana pudding. Like that is literally just saying all the things that are on the table at Thanksgiving. And so it's just a heartwarming type of vibe and instrumental to this song. And it kind of has like those background chants. I really don't know how to characterize it, but not necessarily. If you listen to the Black Panther album, you'll hear some of the like African chants in the background of some of the songs. Those are a bit more aggressive than the ones I'm talking about here. Here it's more just like when your grandma's just humming on the porch on like a summer day, and she's just like humming or just like mumbling a church song to herself. That's what it sounds like in this track, and it just adds to that warmth even more. But the narrative of YBN Cordae bringing his girl to meet his family and everything, kind of as a last ditch attempt to save his relationship, because people are already speculating that this relationship isn't going to last till Christmas, which is only like a month away at this point. So I think it's a really cool narrative. This is more of a storytelling track. There weren't too many bars here that I wanted to highlight because I don't think that's what he's focusing on. But I really like the story that he's telling here. I thought it was a really cool, just a cool vibe that he's establishing, and also a cool narrative that he's telling. Once again, it's really impressive that I even fuck with YBN Cordae the way I do, because I'm usually more of a just lyrical rapidy rap, just like make punchlines after punchlines and I'll listen every time. There's a lot of stories here. There's a lot of more relaxed things, and this is like kind of more into the Biggie subset of rap rather than the Tupac subset of rap, where even though Tupac had his stories, Tupac is known for more punchlines and whatnot than Biggie is, or Biggie, even though he has punchlines and everything, he's more known as a storytelling rapper. So I like the track is the point I'm making. I think it's good. I just don't have anything lyrically that I want to point out here, but I think it's pretty good. And that leads us on to another track right after it that kind of switches up the pace, switches up the vibe entirely, and that is RNP, otherwise known as Rich Nigga Problems. And this is a song with Anderson .Paak, another high-profile feature. I really dig this song. The production from J. Cole, nonetheless. The production on here is excellent. It's minimalistic, which is kind of a hallmark of a lot of J. Cole instrumentals, but it has a bounce to it that is undeniable. It just has a groove that just makes you want to move. And it's just intoxicating. Every time the song comes on, this paints me as a song that's definitely gonna get some radio play, gonna get some club play. This is the type of song you play at a party. And and then the fact that YB Cordae and Anderson .Paak are going back and forth on this track so much kind of adds to that more playful vibe that I get from this track. Like literally at the second part of this, they are literally bouncing back and forth, you know, just trading off lines. Like if we start at the fourth verse is like where they go back and forth. Just to read a couple of that, I bought a Montclair coat for the times we're broke, and then Anderson, I'm a wear it in the summer of LeBron James, bro. Front row, duh, bro. We don't sit on nosebleeds. Ain't your pockets obese? We won't fit in those seats. Like literally, they're just like trading off, and it's like really, really fun to listen to. Kind of gives me like Watch the Throne vibes. Just like the way that they're being so playful with it. How much fun they're having. Like I can definitely close my eyes and see a music video in which they're like having similar amounts of fun as Jay and Ye did in the Otis video. Like that's the vibe I'm getting here. But also just the sound of Anderson .Paak on a beat like this gives me vibes. Anderson .Paak on a beat like this and a lyricist like YBN Cordae, both of them on this track gives me vibes of I think Shake That is the song, the Eminem and Nate Dogg song, because I'm getting some Nate Dogg vibes from this, and I'm definitely seeing a lot of the stuff in here is comparative to that. And I just like the song. It has a good bounce, has a good vibe, some really clever bars. Like I like one bar towards the end of the song. I had to ball hard to harvest these dreams. Swear to God, me too. No Harvey Weinstein. Like that's a clever, I guess, shout out to the Me Too movement. In maybe a somewhat inappropriate way. But I thought it was clever. I thought it was cute. So yeah, I like this song. Overall, song's a banger. The song's a jam. Hopefully this gets a lot of the play that I'm expecting it to get. So yeah, I'm super excited to see what other people think about this song. I think this has the most potential to blow up on the entire album. So yeah, this song is very, very good. And that takes us on to track 7, Broke as Fuck. I enjoy this song. This is kind of the more, if there was, how do I explain this? Out of this whole entire album, this song paints me as the one most contemporary to other rappers of his age group, where the beginning of this track, it's super turn up, super like, yo, like kind of XXXTentacion vibes, where it's just very aggressive, very in your face, and just like, yo, I'm broke as fuck. And, you know, just talking about, this is the track where he talks about his you know, the traumas in his life. If Rich Nigga Problems was, you know, talking about the success and enjoying the success and, you know, all the money he's gotten, just like turning up and everything. Broke as Fuck is like the polar opposite of that, where it's not a fun song. It's an aggressive song. It's definitely something you might want to turn up to, but it's talking more about his trauma. It's talking about how his grandmother passed when he was at an early age for him, how his cousin got shot and that made him paranoid, how his brother got locked up, and, you know, all of his personal ills. And that's what it's talking about in the top of the track, and kind of just, you know, just kind of talking about all of the really fucked up shit. But because it's on a turned up beat, it kind of, you kind of drown out the trauma, which is like weird. And a lot of these songs, they have like a similar thing, where it's kind of like talking about the trauma, but, you know, it's not really, we're not really listening to the trauma, we're listening to the parts that are like exciting. It's weird how we block that type of stuff out, but anywho, I really like how that's what he's talking about in the first half, because there's a second half where the beats changes and everything. But one line I want to talk about in his first verse, flashback to brass tracks as we were playing No Problems. Like I was cranking all the classics from the spring to the autumn, and I was like, wait, No Problems? You talking about the Chance the Rapper song? Like, that was wild to me to think that, okay, yeah, this kid, like I said, he might be 21 years old. I'm not entirely sure on his age. It's not super duper relevant. But, like, you're calling classics No Problems? That was 2016. That was 3 years ago, and you're calling that like a old school classic, like a flashback? Oh, Lord have mercy. I felt super old when I heard that bar, because I'm going to be 25 at the end of this year, so it's like, holy shit, what am I doing? Oh, boy. So, yeah, that was really crazy. I thought that bar was just, you know, eye-opening to me. But there is a beat change, and the beat gets very pretty, very smooth. It definitely has a more angelic quality. And I really don't know how to explain it. It might be the little brother of the beat to I'll say it like this: if you ever listen to Kendrick Lamar's "Damn," at the end he has a track called "God." That track sounds more like God himself, like the trumpets that play as God comes out and sits on the throne or something like that. If that track has that vibe, then the second half of this beat on Broke as Fuck has like what the angels in the background would be singing. Like, this is, if there were angel vocals on that Damn track, then this is how it would probably sound. But it sounds a lot softer, a lot less grand, and more just angelic strictly. And I really enjoy it. Some very clever bars here as well. He plays with his flow a lot more in the second half, which I really, really enjoy. And just to show a little bit of his cadence and everything that I find clever. Remember Christmas, we was giftless, 3-foot tree, no ornaments, pull my dick out, hoes forming it, flow cold, nigga, no warming it, mama couldn't afford AAU, so we couldn't hoop, nigga, no tournaments. So like, I thought that was clever, just like the rhyme scheme that he's employing there, where he's not necessarily doing just a straight, rhyme the last line with the last line. Like, he's kind of playing with the rhyme scheme a little bit in almost a Royce the 5'9" / Eminem way. They do that a lot in their rhymes as well. So I thought that was pretty cool. Shows, a kind of expert level craft to it. And then that pull my dick out, host forming it line is just like, yo, that's wild. That is wild as fuck. But hey, I approve nonetheless. And then that takes us on to the next track, 1,000 Words. And I like this track a whole lot. Now this one is kind of painting a picture of just talking about social media, I guess, and how you can make your life seem like how great it is on the internet, but in real life it's going to be different. Of course, the chorus is like, they say a picture's worth 1,000 roads. You paint a canvas, better let it shine. I know some things I've done are dead wrong. The flash is on this little light of mine. Like, I'm not exactly sure if he's just trying to talk about the fact that your image online is going to be different from the image in real life. I don't know if it's just that tone, or if he's talking about like, yo, if you got some shine, let it shine. Like, he might be talking about how might be justifying stunting a little bit or something like that. In either way, lyrically, I really like this track as well. Now, there's some bars on this track, and there's another track coming on later that actually I've heard before even hearing the album. There was a BET Awards performance with YBN Cordae featuring her that I just absolutely loved. That performance was definitely one of my favorite BET performances of all time, and I just loved that performance so much. And he just had a really like incredibly like the song that she was performing was kind of taking people to church, and then YBN Cordae comes out and takes them to heaven. And I just thought that was great. If I remember, I'll put down there in the link to that performance because it's on YouTube. I thought that was great. Excuse me. And so yeah, I really like this song because it uses some of those words. Like literally, like lyrically, he's just like on some super woke shit. And let me find some of the bars here. Like at the start of his second verse, just to read a couple of the bars here. Living life in this false reality that's in this picture gallery based on a nigga's profile, we guess in salary. The lifestyle you advertise was quite strategized. Make a minimal amount and then we maximize. Like, it's storytelling bars. Once again, it's not really any punchlines here, but just like the lyric, just like the way that he puts together the rhymes in there with a couple of like internal rhymes as well, where it's not just strictly at the end. I think that is just like some masterclass type rapping right there. And I think it's really good. And at the same time, he's still illustrating the story, still illustrating, the way that we get on the gram and make it look like we're a lot more than we actually are. So I really like that. And so, yeah, overall, this song is just really good. And just instrumentally, I didn't even talk about instrumentally, huh? Instrumentally, it just has that vibe to it where it honestly has a similar vibe to what other songs did I talk about? It actually has a similar vibe to Thanksgiving, where I'd argue Thanksgiving gives off a sense of warmth, but 1,000 Words kind of gives off the vibe of isolation. It's a similarly chill track to Thanksgiving, but this song kind of gives off a little bit more isolation and a little bit more like voices in my head type vibe. Not only because of the subject matter of the song, but just like they use that chanting in the background as well, just like they do in Thanksgiving. But instead of it sounding like, oh, somebody mumbling a song in the background, like your grandmother on a porch, this sounds more like ghosts in a haunted house or something. It's definitely a little bit more haunting. So while I don't think the instrumental overall is haunting, I do think that those like background, whispers or something make it sound a little bit more isolation based. So yeah, overall, I think 1,000 Words is a good track. Some great storytelling bars on the track. Oh, excuse me. Oh God, overcoming a cold. Sorry about that, y'all. So yeah, I think it's really good just for that fact. And it's not my favorite track on here, but it's one that I really like for the rhyme schemes and mainly the rhyme schemes. And with that one, we go to track 9, Way Back Home. Now, this is a song featuring Ty Dolla $ign, which if you watch my Revenge of the Dreamers 3 review, which was the video I put up right before this one a couple weeks ago, I told y'all that I'm not the biggest fan of Ty Dolla $ign. I don't dislike him specifically. It's just that a lot of songs, when I hear him, I like the song less. So like I don't know why. Maybe I'm just not a fan of his vocal, like maybe I just don't like the way he sounds, which is like mean to say, but like sometimes it just be like that. All due respect to him, I ain't trying to knock the hustle, but whenever he hops on a track, half the time I'm just not feeling that track and I just don't know what it is. Now this is one where excuse me. Now I'll talk about it instrumentally before I get into Ty Dolla $ign's contribution. So instrumentally, I think this song is very funky as well. A little bit low key when you compare it to something like RNP, but this one, the vibe I get from this one is kind of like family reunion, like stepping music. Like this is the type of song that you can like step to, where it has a good groove to like just play in the background at a family reunion. Not necessarily Thanksgiving. This has a more upbeat atmosphere where it's not just about the warmth. It's about like kind of the party atmosphere as well. And it's really hard to pin down. This is the type of song that they play at like the skating rink or something. Like they play this at Cascade, or if you're near where I'm at, Sparkles. Like that's kind of how excuse me, I'm feeling on this track. So yeah, instrumentally, I enjoy the instrumentals on this one. It kind of almost has a pop inclination to it, which I think kind of makes it work a little bit better, especially for someone like Ty Dolla $ign, who I attribute him more to these more mainstream sounds. So I think both of them play pretty well on this track. And lyrically, not too many things I want to point out on this track. I will give a shout out to how YBN. I've said YMB so many times on this video and just in everyday life. YNB just has I don't know why I keep saying YNB when it's YBN. It's going to take me a while. Apologies if I say that any other time in the video. So anyway, I like at the beginning of the verse, of his first verse, where he says, okay, Annie, are you right? Kind of as a shout out to Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal. Annie, are you okay? That's like the one lyrical highlight I want to give. And I will say, by the time by the time Ty Dolla $ign comes out on this track, I'm really like in the mood. I'm really in the vibe, and I'm already caught up in how the song sounds anyway. That Ty Dolla $ign does not actually ruin this song for me. I think he fits pretty well on this track. I think it was a good selection for him on the track. I don't know if it was a good selection of, hey, good instrumental to put him on, or hey, good artist to put on this instrumental. But either way, the decision was pretty successful, because I think this track kind of comes out pretty well and it's very good. And that takes us on to track 10, which is the skit that I was hinting to earlier, Grandma's House. Something hit me with this skit, man. I don't know what it is. So initially, now I'm gonna be up front. This is my second time recording this because I noticed that my mic was inconsistent on the previous recording, so I had to hook up my actual full scale mic instead of just the one from my headset. And so, yeah, this is my second time recording this. And during the first time recording it, I realized just how much this skit hit home with me. Now, to describe this skit, similar to the last skit, it's really just pianos in the background instrumentally. There's no like big flair in the background. This one is literally just a piano. Cordae's grandmother, who we've already talked about, died when he was, younger. And YB Cordae himself. It's just like a duet between them, just singing, Trouble in My Way, which is a classic, gospel track that's been sung for, decades at this point. If you guys ever been inside of a Christian church, especially a black church, you probably heard this song. This is just a go-to. But yeah, this song really got to me, or this track really got to me, this skit really got to me, because it reminded me a lot of my own grandmother, where I've had two grandmothers, of course. One of them died pretty suddenly. I think I was only like 12 or 13 at the time, so like they just called one morning when we were all getting ready for school, and I was just sitting down watching Rocket Power, and then my mom got a call and was like, hey, grandma's in the hospital. She was like, all right, just keep us posted. And then not even 20 minutes later, got another call that, it had happened. And I just remember saying, man, Auto Rocket can't make this situation awesome right now. And that was just unfortunate. So, and then my other grandmother on my dad's side, the first one was on my mom's side, she actually stayed with us at our home for a while before she died. Because she was fading away, and we didn't want her to fade away staying at home alone, so we kind of just kept her here so we could keep an eye on her more regularly and everything. And during that time, it was more of a it was just kind of it was interesting having her around, because she would sing little Negro spirituals and things like this, because she could barely see at this point. Like, she had glaucoma and everything, and diabetes and all that stuff, and I guess she didn't eat enough carrots, so she would just call out to the void sometimes, like, just to see if any of us were home. Like, every now and then I just hear because they call me EJ at home, so every now and then I just hear EJ. Yeah, I'm here, Grandma. Okay, just wanted to make sure you were here. It's like that's the type of lady she was. So yeah, thinking about this, there were definitely times where I just come downstairs to just like hang out, and she'd be singing some song, and then Dad would join in, and then my sister loves to sing, so of course she'd join in because she wants some of that shine. And just like they're just like humming a song, or just joining in on something like this. So this scene that they paint in this skit really, really hit home for me. It's definitely, in retrospect, when I was listening to it, I didn't really think about it much, but in retrospect, this is probably my favorite part of the whole album, because like you can hear how elderly she is in her vocal performance of this song. Cordae's grandmother I'm talking about. You can hear just like the years of existence in her voice, and that just adds so much texture to it kind of characterizes her as a person, and it adds texture to the song, adds texture to the skit, adds texture to the album. And it just really, showing YB Cordae do this with his grandmother just shows like how close they were, and the connection that they shared. And when I first recorded this commentary, like I was almost getting choked up, and I had to like go on to the next song. But yeah, I really do like this skit. This skit is definitely a highlight on the album for me, and really this kind of like ties it up for me. Like, once I heard this, and once I realized just how important it was to me specifically, I was really just super duper feeling it. So yeah, I like this skit. This skit's very, very good. And that takes me over to the next track, which is, once again, the rest of these tracks that was the last skit, so the rest of these tracks are going to be full tracks, just everything you expect, and that's Been Around. So this track is kind of like it comes off sounding like a letter YB Cordae's writing to someone. I don't think he addresses it in the song, but it's very reflective. It's just like him thinking back on like how he exists in this world, and there's not really much in the way of lyrical content. This is once again a storytelling track, but this track more than anything reminds me of like a J. Cole song. Like, this kind of gives me vibes of For Your Eyes Only, like the title track of that album. where it's very reflective, like I said already, but it's very low key. Instrumentally, it kind of has pretty much a guitar and then a little bit of drums just to even out the bass, so it's not just pianos like J. Cole did on that album, where it just got boring after a while to just listen to him rap over pianos, which is of course beautiful, but it's like on a rap track you want a little bit more. For this track, YBN does have a little bit more here instrumentally, so it complements it there. And then there's just some pretty pleasant singing. I don't think the singing's done by YBN Cordae. YBN. Oh my god, I'm gonna say it right one of these days. I'm just gonna say Cordae. I don't think the singing's done by him on the choruses, but the chorus is very pretty nonetheless. And as I've already said, Cordae can sing quite a bit. So I like this track. It's very reflective, very like from the outside looking in to his life, to his actions, to the interactions he has with the people in his life. And I really like it. Once again, no cleverness or anything, but I like how he tells the tale. Here, I'll just give a couple bars just to give you a taste. Although it seems so bittersweet when you ain't got nothing to eat and Sally Mae calling your phone for like the 5th time this week. All your bills are overdue, all your bitches over you. Only one option remains, you just gotta show and prove. So like, I like that one where it's kind of like, yo, when your back's in the corner, you gotta just go hard and get out of the corner. So I like that. I like this song just in general. It kind of plays more like a interlude track, and it also gives me vibes of instrumentally it gives me vibes of that J. Cole track I talked about earlier, but lyrically it gives me vibes of Fear from Kendrick's Damn album, where it's very reflective. Now it's not as grand and it's not as like over encompassing as the track on Damn, but it definitely has a similar reflective vibe to it, and I really like it. And then of course he's no slouch with the bars as well. He has some clever rhyme schemes and whatnot in here. And then that takes us on to track 12, which is featuring Pusha T, and that is Nightmares Are Real. I like this track. Now the only thing I could say, YBN Cordae, it feels like he recedes into the background on this track, mostly because Pusha T, like, you hear this beat and you see featuring Pusha T and you're like, yo, Pusha T is like gonna go pretty hard on this, and he does. Pusha T definitely comes through on this feature. It's super short, but like he does, I feel like Pusha T is a very economical rapper in the way that he might not have a lot of words on a track, but just his cadence, his voice, just his presence on a performance is just so much that it carries the track a long way just based off of that alone. Excuse me. Yeah, despite of a lot of his rap lyrics being about, selling crack and everything, and he once again talks about, doing crack flips and whatnot in this verse, it still comes off as just as strong, just as great. It's just Pusha T has something about him that just makes him stick out on a track, and that kind of works to the detriment of YBN, to the point where I just don't like. He has a good verse on here. Like it's just like, how do we say this? It starts off with just his verse, and you're like, yo, we starting off with a verse, okay, so when's YBN's second verse coming in? And you just never get another verse from him. So it's like you wish you just heard more from him. You hear more from YBN on the choruses than you do on his verses, which is disappointing for me, because I know Cordae can come with some really hardcore bars to kind of stand up there toe to toe with Pusha T. And here I just don't feel like he did that really. Not like calling him out or anything. I just would like him to, if there was a remix made of this with like maybe another additional verse from Cordae, I'd be super duper happy. But as it lays, this track is still pretty good. Like I said, Pusha T definitely improves this track a whole lot, and I like it a lot. Instrumentally, it kind of has that like spooky, like sinister vibe is what I'd give it instrumentally. It has a sinister vibe that you shouldn't be unfamiliar with if you've heard like something like Daytona from Pusha T. It definitely has that type of vibe to it, where it's like, there's like something deep and seedy and dark about it, and definitely something grimy as well with the heavy bass in there. So yeah, overall I like this track. It's pretty good, but I think Pusha T outshines Cordae by a decent margin. And then that takes us on to the next track number 13, Family Matters. This is just a YB Cordae track, no assist here, except Aaron Ray is on this track. I think they do sing the chorus, so he does have some chorus backup here, but Aaron Ray, what is Aaron Ray even? Oh yeah, he is featured on here. I thought it was a feature but uncredited. All right, just wrong on that one. Sorry about that, y'all. Yeah, Family Matters. I like this track because this is more of a storytelling track as well, but it's less storytelling. It's more just painting a picture with his words, because he's talking about how his family, Cordae, they tell him to go out there, live your dreams, make your money, be a big star, make your music and all that stuff, and get yourself out of this heavy situation that is living in poverty and whatnot, or at least I assume from his lyrical content. So it's them telling him that, and then they go back to their own lives and they're facing all of these different traumas and all these different problems. You got aunts you got like 40-year-old aunts that are raising kids that are 1 to 3 years old because their kids are putting them on them because they're not wanting to take care of their own kids. You got women that are facing domestic violence from men that are no good. You got people that are selling their bodies just to try to make a quick buck. People that are taking drugs because they don't have any love in their personal life. Just like painting all these different pictures with all these different family members, and just the conflict he has internally, knowing all this stuff is going on, but either not being able to do anything about it or having to look a blind eye just for the sake of him being able to focus on his music. And that conflict is something that I somewhat relate to. It's one of those things where I haven't really, partially due to time at work, it's hard for me to get time off of work, and also partially due to just like I don't feel like I'm at where I want to be in life right now, so I don't want to see external family members too much, because whenever you see any family member, you go to any family reunion or anything after a certain age, and the question isn't how you doing, it's so you out of college yet, so what's your job, so you got a girlfriend yet, so you having kids, when am I getting grandkids. It's like all these life things come up at a certain point, and I'm just not ready to answer a lot of those questions, so I've kind of been ducking family a lot. But like every now and then, family members will go to a family reunion or go somewhere where family is and come back and tell me some things, and I'm like, yo, things are changing. Like, not necessarily like they're going through the same traumas as illustrated in this song. Like, thankfully my family hasn't gone off the deep end like that, at least in most cases I'm aware of. But sometimes you'll just hear things like this isn't a perfect example, but I used to go to church a lot more often, and there was this one lady at church who was the usher. She led the ushers and everything. I used to be an usher when I went to church more often, and I stopped going for a while, and maybe 2 years later I came back to church, and that same lady who led the usher department, she had got some rare disease or something that pretty much just took all the consciousness out of her. So she'd be in church and everything, but she had no ability to talk. She had to look at letters on a screen in order to speak and everything. And this was in a short time period. And this woman, yeah, she was older, but she wasn't 70s or anything. She might have been late 50s, early 60s. She wasn't that old, and she had plenty of movement when I was there. But coming back and seeing yo, this didn't happen because of my absence, but this happened in my absence. And so it's just shocking to see yo, this is what's going on when I'm not paying attention. And so things like that are happening in my family as well. And so a track like this kind of hit somewhat close to home for me. And it's just yo, I really need to, my presence isn't going to help things, but it's also yo, I'm missing things like that. That's crazy. And unfortunately that young lady at church has since passed away. That actually happened a couple of years ago now. But it's just the type of thing you think about when you're just focusing on your own life and trying to get your own self out of your own struggles, and you look around and the tides have turned in some way. So yeah, I like this track for that. Family Matters definitely has that that message to it, and instrumentally it does have a little bit slightly upbeat, which is kind of weird for a track like this. And I know I just gave a really somber story to kind of talk about the themes of this song, but it's upbeat. It's weirdly upbeat. It kind of just it almost has like the feeling of like at the end of a musical when they like recap all of the character arcs. It has that vibe to it, and I like it. I don't really have a problem with the track. I like the track, of course. That should be obvious by now. But I don't know. Just the subject matter being talked about in the words does not match the upbeatness of the chorus and the instrumental. I like it. I do like it, but I think it's more supposed to be kind of like how Changes from Tupac is an upbeat track, but if you listen to it lyrically, he's saying some really dark and depressing shit, like we ain't ready to have a black president, which, you know, depending on who you ask, that turned out to be true for different reasons than we all would have thought. But it kind of has that vibe to it. So Family Matters, a track that hit me pretty close as well, just for reasons that I didn't really think about. So yeah, I like that track. Second last track, we're getting into the home stretch here. We Gon' Make It, which is featuring Meek Mill. This might be, now I said I like that skit a whole lot, the skit with Cordae's grandmother. I said I like the last track a whole lot, Family Matters. We Gon' Make It is like probably my favorite track on this entire album. Now, instrumentally, it kind of samples I Miss You by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Now, I don't know if y'all know that song. If you got some soul people in your family, if you're in a black household and it's a Saturday morning and you hear this playing when you wake up, which means y'all gonna clean the house that day, like this is that type of song. And I love this song. Like I have a couple of different radio stations that just play like old 80s, 70s music because, you know, I'm nostalgic for that stuff too now that my parents have, you know, grown me up on it. And this is one of my favorite songs to listen to on those stations. It's just a really classic, just I miss you, miss you, miss you, miss you. If you've heard the song, you know what I'm talking about. And they sample it. I'm getting a phone call. Let me pause. All right, sorry about that. That ended up not being anybody at all, so wasted that time for nothing. So yeah, if you know that song, you know what I'm talking about, and they actually sampled this song for the track, and it is just an expert use of the sample where it still gives the vibe of the original song, but, you know, of course they add a little bit to the bass and the drums to kind of make it more of a traditional rap track for contemporary times. But I just love it. And then, of course, Meek Mill, he sings the chorus, which you might be thinking, if you're anything like me, Meek Mill singing on a chorus? What the hell is that going to be like? And it comes off less like he's singing, and it comes off more like a grand speech. Like, it just feels super duper motivating. This whole track just has like a very inspirational, motivational feel to it, where it sounds more like Meek Mill. Like I said, it doesn't sound like he's trying to like sing. It sounds like just a really impassioned speech that is being given, like just as the downtrodden are on their last steps, and just when you're about to be counted out and then you get pulled right back in. Like that's the type of speech that it sounds like every time this chorus comes on, and it's just super like it gets you in your gut in a really good, satisfying way. And I just love this track for that. The YBN Cordae, once again using some of his bars from the BET Awards performance, you know, talking about, you know, I see how it feels on the late night, swimming with the great nights, drowning in the deep waters. Know you got 3 daughters, could use some resources. Nah, we just need order. I got my own bad news, fuck a reporter. Niggas ain't even safe, they want to deport us. You rather keep us boxed in on the street corners? Are you gonna stop a frisker, nigga? Shit, at least warn us. My dog, I'm still on probation and they got a lease on us. Far from stupid and fat and smarter than Harvard students. Spark to move in and put an end to this garbage music. Got me thinking like this can't be life. These stupid ass niggas voted for the Antichrist. I thought I was gonna say the whole thing like perfectly. So that's pretty much the first verse. And just I like lyrically what he's doing there. I like the little not really clever bars at all, but just the rhyme schemes he's using on here are just very, you know, lively. He's switching up the rhyme scheme quite a bit throughout that verse, and throughout the whole song, might I add. And you know, just kind of, you know, throwing some gems here or there. Far from stupid and fat and smarter than Harvard students. Like, that's a gem. Like, that's a little clever shit. Voted for the Antichrist. Of course, we know who that's talking about. And, you know, a lot of people are going to agree with that. I agree with that shit. And, yeah, he's just, like, painting a picture of how life is and how hard life can be right now. So I like that a whole lot. Meek Mill gets on here. Meek Mill does a great job. He's rapping, but he's less like doing his scream rapping and more just doing almost continuing that same cadence from the chorus, where the chorus sounds more like an auto-tuned sing, but the verse sounds more like just a straight up, like, with all the pauses and things left in, it sounds more like a speech. It sounds more like a recital than a performance of music, which is why Meek Mill fits so well on this track, in my opinion. And then, of course, YBN Cordae comes back and, just delivers a whole bunch of clever rhymes and everything. Like, I remember this in the cold days in wintertime, got home by dinner time, 7-Eleven runs, Gatorade flavored lemon lime, hot Cheetos, Arizona's, oranges, clementine. The first job I ever applied for was Finish Line. Like, just painting the picture in some really clever ways and using a similar rhyming method that Eminem used in Not Alike back on the Kamikaze album. We were listing things that rhyme. Like, that's one that always has the potential to either be fun and playful or, annoying and just like, oh, you can't put together an actual sentence to rhyme, so you just put some words together. Here I think it's more playful, and I think it's used well, similar to Eminem's technique. Excuse me. So yeah, I really like it. This song, just like, I love this song so much. It just makes me warm. It feels like crying in the arms of someone you love and trust, and them telling you it's going to be okay. That's what this song feels like. It just feels like when you just hit the end of your rope, but there's someone there to just like give you some affection and tell you it's going to be okay. That's what this feels like. And so it's really good. It's just like, I don't know. This song is just great. I just love this song so much. Easily my favorite on the entire album. And one that's actually kind of close in ranking to this song is the final track, track 15, Lost and Found. Now, instrumentally, this one, once again, has kind of a more contemporary, almost generic type of instrumental to it. And not to give it a diss, it's just more that this track definitely has like the... it kind of has that regalness. Like, I always describe an album like Watch the Throne as a regal album, where a lot of the instrumentals on there just sound larger than life. This sounds in a similar way, but if Watch the Throne sound like two kings going at it, Lost and Found sounds more like a prince acquiring his throne. Like, YBN Cordae definitely isn't trying to go too hard on like the grandest beat of all time, but the way that he uses this beat, it almost feels like... It gives me the vibe of like someone who like wears the crown, but like wears it sideways or something. It's kind of like making fun of not making fun of the monarchy. It's like you're being playful with the monarchy. You're not being so uptight. You're not being so stewardly about it. You're having fun, and like a Marie Antoinette type thing. And I'm basing that entire comparison off of the movie with Kirsten Dunst. I forget what happened in the actual historical events. I'm pretty sure she got beheaded. But, like, the vibe that movie, Marie Antoinette, has is kind of the vibe I'm getting from this song. So that's the comparison there, because I know that's probably not a perfect comparison. So yeah, just the playfulness of, the fact that he's acquired his throne. He knows how good he is, and he's super playful on this track, just bouncing to different rap styles, just making a lot of, cool, how do you say this? Cool punchlines, cool, just things that he's saying on here. Like, let me see. He had a couple of good lines in here. Pretty much this whole thing is just one verse, so there's a lot of bars to dissect. But I'm just gonna highlight one here. Yeah, he has one set of bars here. Celebration mixed the crock and the lime. Rest in peace to X. The pock of his time was manifested. Can't stop the divine. Nigga speaking like Barack in his prime. But I'm Bill Clinton with these ill writtens. Make the real listen. Seeing Monica Lewinsky and the hills dipping. Like, he's really like playing. He's playing with like the way people like, oh, he's so eloquent. Like, the same thing that they said with Barack. Playing with that comparison, and then just comparing the fact that I'm Bill Clinton with these ill writtens. Like, kind of saying I'm a pimp. Because, Bill Clinton's always had that type of, aura about him. He probably got around as a young boy and, definitely as a young man as well. So, yeah, it's funny how he's being playful with these concepts that people, take a little bit more seriously. Like I said, he's playing with the throne. Like, he's probably at that level to where I think Cordae's at that level where if Obama was still in the administration and he puts out that like yearly list of what he's listening to, I'm sure Cordae would be on that list at this point. But he's like playing with those names that I'm sure he would have been associated with. And then there's also a Will Smith reference down there later on. Like this whole verse is just playful. He's just switching up his flows consistently throughout the whole song. And it's just a really great way to end the song, in my opinion. Just like a lyrical exercise, him flexing his lyrical muscle for everyone to see. And it's just a good like testament to, you know, how special YB Cordae is, because he can give those more J. Cole type of vibes. He can give those more Kendrick type of vibes, but he can play with his he can switch up his flows and switch up his performance on a track like this to give more of a Slump God vibe, to give more of a well, Ski Mask and Slump God are the same thing. It is Ski Mask the Slump God. What's his name? Smoke Perp type vibe, where you can kind of play with some of those more contemporary SoundCloud type rappers. Same thing with Lil Yachty. I consider him in that same echelon. So it just shows that he's versatile, and he's not only versatile, he's still clever in all of those different versions. So a great way to end this album. I really like the album, as you can already tell. So overall, sorry, I had to cut out there my recording equipment. So overall, what do I think about YBN Cordae's The Lost Boy? I think it's a very, very solid first outing for YBN Cordae. I'm not necessarily going to say this is like my favorite album of all time. Maybe not even my favorite album of the year. But the thing about it is, the consistency on this album is something to behold, where a lot of albums that come out have like valleys, they have low points, high points, and there are some lowish points on this album, but none of them like drop below. I don't think any song on here is bad. Some of them I might just not be in the mood for. I think this album is super duper consistent. I think this album has quality throughout, but it's just like, if we're talking about like what heights does it reach, I don't think any of these tracks reach super duper high. Even the tracks that I relate to the most, like those might be like one or two exceptions, and I've talked about that earlier in the video. But overall on this album, I like every track. I like how it's super chill, super reflective, lots of storytelling, a couple clever bars as well, some instrumental diversity that I like as well. And then, like I said, that grandmother skit really, really hit me in my soul. And then some of the stuff in Family Matters as well really hit me in my soul. And also, We Gon' Make It, like I said, another great track. But overall, it's less. I don't really dislike the album. I just know, for as good as this album is, like it's less that I think this album is so great. It's more that I think this album just doesn't have many down points. Like, I don't think there's really much in the way of flaws on this album. But there's still, it's just not high enough to where I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. Because I know YB Cordae can do better than this. Like, not as a diss or anything. I just know he can come out with a classic album. I know he can. Like if this is this is definitely like a Section 80 type album, and I'm certain that there is a To Pimp a Butterfly in him, or even a Good Kid, Mad City in him, and shit, he even showed that he can go into damn mode if he wanted to. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm coming off on it. Great album, definitely going to be listening to it for a while, but I know YB Cordae can do so much more, and I'm excited to see what is coming from him, because if it starts off like this and it only goes up from here, then that's going to be, you know, instant classic territory potentially. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of the album review. And even though this is my second time recording a video, still ended up being almost exactly as long. Or actually, I think I beat it by like 6 minutes. So, you know, cut off a little bit of time there. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Sunset Overdrive footage that has been playing over this commentary. Look back, if you enjoyed this video, I got plenty of other hip-hop reviews that I've been doing for the last couple months. I don't do them consistently as much. I'm trying to get back into the rhythm of doing them a little bit more often, but hopefully you'll check out what I got. Also, if this is your first time here, of course, my Twitter is always in the description of every video, so go down there, follow me on Twitter for everything else I'm doing new. I write for Lost Hero Games. I do the PlayStation All-Stars Ultimate Roster Showdown for them. We got a couple more matchups in that, so maybe 4 more weeks after that, we'll be wrapped up with that, and then we'll have a grand finale for that as well, which I'm excited to start working on. So yeah, look out for that. Of course, I do movie stuff as well. I used to do movie stuff on this channel. I've kind of moved a lot of that over to Letterboxd, where I write a lot of my movie reviews now whenever I see something. And yeah, and just check out the channel, see if you like anything else. Click on those links below. I gotta remember to put that BET Awards performance down there from YBN Cordae and her. And her is her actual name. That's the artist's name. Her, that is her's name. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and as I always say in every video that I do, keep it real, keep it trill. Bye bye.
Wow, what an amazing show. Okay, the turd plans are yours.
Cool, thanks.
If you give me your phone number, for trap tips and stuff.
Ugh, okay. Just promise not to call me when I'm busy, which is pretty much all the time.
OMG, OMG, best day ever!